Okay, guys, so I am seemingly in it for the views, but really in the end, I am not. Let me just let me just tell you what I'm gonna tell you now. So there's this stranger that basically his you know his Maserati went missing. His Maserati went on a joyride with another stranger, and then it turns out that the Maserati was destroyed by a girl. That he said that it was destroyed by a girl. That's what he said. And he said, to every other stranger, like 1,000 of them, that this girl has committed Grand Theft Auto and destroyed my car. So what shall we do? And everyone retorted, except for a few, put her in jail for 5 years because she has also crashed into a police office building and basically caused commotion there. Okay? I know it seems weird, but you must hold on for now. Then she went in court, and then they accused her of lying. They all accused her for lying and everything like that. So basically, she was saying that I'm innocent. I don't know what you're talking about. I did not do such a thing. And she also said, "What am I doing here? I didn't know what that." I didn't know that anyone would randomly pick me up. And she even said, "What?" when she was basically picked up, and her mother was like frantic because it looked like she thought that the girl had been, she called her a very good girl, and she called her a warrior and all that. And the mother was like, "What? This is not real. This is absolutely not real. Why would anyone accuse my little girl of stealing a Maserati and then basically, you know, of destroying it in a police office building causing commotion? Sounds like what an adult would do, not a 7-year-old." And basically, this girl was going to jail for 5 years, no education. And, then later on, she was put in solitary confinement for a year. When she was 8 years old, she was put in solitary confinement because even the prisoners were lying about her. And they were saying things like, "Oh, she causes commotion," and all that jazz because it was all over the news. And then, within the second year, they realized that the person involved with with the Grand Theft Auto was actually not really involved with Grand Theft Auto, but it was actually, a setup from someone else that he did not crash into a police building. It looked like he did, but it was actually staged by corrupt fellows that wanted to get money for stealing cars and then making it into a show. And they even took up off the license plate and put it on a fake one and made it into a show. And when they saw that the show had come out, they realized that the guy had realized that he had put a special mark on his Maserati Quadruple, a special mark, basically saying, basically the Empire State Building on a like two Empire State Buildings on the front seats, and it was his it was basically his signature that was put in the driver's manual, and it was his signature that was on the screen. And once he did the signature as well as actually put it on the Maserati, he realized that I'm in deep trouble because I was the one that set the whole thing up. And I didn't realize that my signature could get me in trouble like that. So the whole thing was set up by that one guy that agreed to make the guy steal his car so he could blame it on the girl. That seemed, well, quite, it seemed like it was very off, because the girl wouldn't be able to do that and cause a commotion in front of the police officer building. But there was actually another girl that was in the stage that was very, naughty and snotty and spoiled, and wanted to get a Christmas gift like a few months later, after, like halfway across the year. She wanted a Christmas present back from the police office building because she was a spoiled and rotten and evil girl. But the whole show was not realistic in its own terms. And they blamed it on this girl because they hated that girl because she was a true Christian. Because, she was telling the truth about what it would be in her eyes to see a poor person, basically a calm poor person who had nothing, but he had everything to say, because what the poor person was saying is that he had literally the poor person was literally the girl was very sure about the poor person, and she was like a poor person that knew everything, and she was only for the truth. And she also knew this kid that was very poor, like I said before, maybe. And she knew this kid that was very poor, and she wanted to support every poor person in the world. And she was only for the truth and all for the truth. And that fact that she was in for jail for 2 years only made her matters worse for her. She was actually put in juvenile detention, but then a couple months later they put her in adult jail because they thought that she was too violent for the juvenile hall because of the show. The show said that this girl would commit murder in jail, and that she needed to be bound up in a mental institution in literally, what do they call it? A holding cell. She was literally in a holding cell in a mental institution because of the lies that they portrayed on her. And she even said, "Now I know why I hate the world. Because the world is filled with filth that goes against the Christian, and now it's part of the persecution. They all lied to me. They all called me spoiled, rotten, everything of the kind that was not of me. They called me the opposite of what I was. So, what is this true for? Well, in a sense, it's true for the Christian. True for the Christian because it may not be as dramatic as Grand Theft Auto, but it can be, in a sense, filled with utter hate against the Christian because they consider them narcissists or anything like that. Instead, the child of God says, "Well, I know this for a fact." And he's saying that I'm proud for it. I'm proud to be with God. By God to be judged accordingly. So what a narcissist says, well, this person is considering himself perfect. Well, on the other hand, this person that is considers himself perfect with God later on, not now. Let's say that this person is a child of God, but they say that he is considering himself perfect, but the child of God says, I'm not perfect, which I am not. And then the child of God says, well, I've done things that I don't like in the past, but I'm not going to remember them. I'm not going to focus on them. So in a sense, the child says, I'm for God. I'm for Jesus. I love Jesus. And no one's going to be ever perfect. But then the world that is, talking really loudly to talking loud enough, like in a protest voice, instead of a calm voice that is truth. It's like a creek. It can go fast, but it can only go a certain speed. It's like a swinging of a sword that is, very sharp. Sharp to the touch and sharp beyond all measures. It swings clearly like water through sand. And a stream can do all sorts of cool things. It can form mountains. So it can that sharp sword form your heart. And sorry. And basically the sword is literally sharper than this. Our sword is sharper than a two-edged sword. That two-edged sword. It's sharper than any sword that can ever imagine. Our truth, the sword or the tongue, is sharper than any kind of sword that you can ever have. Sharper than any sword that you can ever create in the modern day or any day like that. It cuts not only between bone and marrow, but also cuts through rock. It can cut through anything. So if our heart is as hard as a heart, if our heart is as hard as a rock, our tongue can actually shatter it. Like a sword shatters a rock that's so sharp and so heavy. So, you gotta be careful about what you say, because those lies can end up causing people to cause worse trouble for the child. What if a child that is 7 years old went to jail for 2 years and ended up in a mental institution in a solitary confinement for a year? That would mess up her life. And it's because of a lie. Because of the lie of a devil. So, I can't say what's going on right now, but people are, mean, and they want to say the worst of the child. I get it. People are that are non-Christian. They like to hear about this stuff, but in reality, this kind of stuff doesn't really happen often. Now, does it? Even a matter of fact, it never happens. So the person that said that lie said facts about the person that were never realistic or true, or any of that could ever happen. I may have a big spirit in the past, but it was just for Satanism. And the fact that one of the things that certain person said to me, I'm not going to say her name, but she said that have a ginormous spirit that is bigger than the earth. And I was like, that would be that you'd have to be careful if you said that. Because, the evil spirits might be big, but they also I mean, they can fit in you. They can fit in you, but if you had a spirit that big, you'd be pretty much like, let's say, Jezebel. And Jezebel was an evil woman. And that was a made-up name that a certain person made, and people are saying, "Oh, she speaks the truth." But what about that made-up name? Was she a Satanist before? I didn't even recognize that name when I was a Satanist. You know. So anyone that says that a certain person is true, don't want to say it, but anyone that says a certain person is true, they'd have to check up. They would have to check the facts. Does it look like a wolf in sheep's clothing? I mean, actually, let me give you a hint on the wolf in sheep's clothing. They do not act like sheep. They do not go in straight lines. They go in a curvy line all over the place, all around the sheep, in rude fashion. So if anyone like bumps into you in a mean way, or if it doesn't smell right, or if it has paws that does that balance right, if it's not balanced, if it's not within the boundaries of acting like a person that's not like a serpent, but but also cunning, and they say things like they could say things in a strange fashion. The wolf, in sheep's clothing, the Bible does say to be beware of them. But also it does say that they're very crafty. But some true Christians can really tell what a wolf in sheep's clothing really look like. Some of them are really hidden until you read the scripture. The scripture does the straight line and also predicts the behavior of wolves. And wolves are like this, circling around and like that. If you see something not going like this, if you see something like this, just don't go near it. It may look like a crazy sheep, but it certainly is not a sheep. It's a wolf that's going to kill you. So, anyway, and also, another term, it's got a recognizable face. If you look very carefully, I mean, a sheep is very rounded. A wolf is very pointy. And a sheep's clothing looks like a sheep. When you see a wolf, it's very recognizable. I mean, sheep are very blind. They're very, let's say, very dumb. And a true child of God is still a sheep. But they've still got to be, in one way, as wise as a serpent. How do you do that? We have God's Spirit to interpret what the person says. And if a person sounds like she's boasting, don't go near her. Just don't go near her, okay? If a Christian sounds like he's mean, then don't go near him, okay? If it sounds like doesn't have any of the Spirit, doesn't have self-control, or feels like he is in the presence of hate, then don't go near that Christian, because a hating Christian is a hating Christian. And that kind of Christian just, he hates the truth. And his hate is obvious. It's like sexual immorality, and all kind of bitterness that the person has. Hate is obvious. Hate is the opposite of love. And that agape love is, very much true to the foundation, filled with life and meaningful and most beautiful. And being vicious and attacking the person, we have to be, if you see a person that's false, tell them what's false. Just tell them what's false. And exactly tell them in a certain script. Just tell them exactly what is false about it. And then they'll try to figure out it's true, and they will, change about it. They'll change themselves about it. But if that doesn't seem false to you, and you say it's false like that, and if you say, well, if the person is false for whatever reason, it's not exactly saying why it's the reason. I'll just go by it and, like PewDiePie said in one of his videos, I know he's a secular person, but he said the person that pointed out that he was too well, let's say too full of himself, too, let's say, not in a nice character, and being a bratty person in a really not so cool way. That helps PewDiePie, and I mean, he changed his attitude, and he basically, he didn't get deleted because of that. If he didn't listen, he would have gotten deleted, and if the person didn't say anything, he would have gotten deleted. So I'm telling you that, basically, correct the person. If there's any lies that comes out of the person's mouth, tell them by scripture. Don't tell them by randomly saying this is what they do and this is why I think it is, and without doing any words with scripture. Unless it's a secular person, just don't do it without scripture. And even then, do it with accurate scripture. I mean, if you're random about scripture, if I feel you're random, and I mean, if you caught me about pride, I mean, I would have stopped doing pride, and I did that. But it doesn't mean I'll still be not proud, because of that characteristic of a Edomite, and they were very proud people. Yes, I'm an Edomite. Yeah, I see it as fur. I was born Edomite. Yes, I was. And I had a characteristic of a proud person. And these were people that would believe in gods, and they were Roman. They were gods, and they believed in gods in the Roman sense. They even went to Ireland to believe in their gods because of the fall of Rome. Then one of them said, I should listen to this person because he believes in his God. So he has his God, and I'll put him with my gods. Then they went to, and I mean, one of them went to England because he liked that person's God, and in England he was. That's why I got my red hair, because of that. Because of that. And of course, they still continued to go with their gods until they're basically taught out of it in England and all that, because they're forced to go out of it. Then they were in the Catholic Church for a little while until they protested and, went to Italy, where they still protest, and they were like, I can't do this. They did not go to Australia, but, this was 1600s, and then the Catholic Church did not have its own power. Instead, more than almost all of my people were Catholic back in that time, my family members. Oh, excuse me. And many of them were corrupt, And then they went to America as Catholics, and in another sense, one of them were Episcopals in England because they wanted to go elsewhere, and they found Episcopal. And back when my father and mother met, they became whatever they could find. I became whatever I could find, But that's, oh my gosh, that's 5,000 years of false teaching, of rebellion that I had. And basically, that's 5,000 years of, rebelling against God and God's children. So expect to find false teaching in me, but I also expect me to have the living Lord inside of me, the living Lord that corrects me all the time. So if you're wondering, the 7-year-old, you know, she has been taught the way that her parents wanted to teach her, and she only wants to be taught until 3 years old, until she realized, well, God, He is love. He has all the 10 Commandments, but He is only love, and she only preaches love. And then when she was 6, and 6 years and continuing, she only wanted to preach the truth for the people that were suffering on the streets. And those people that were on the streets were they were dying. Not of thirst, not of hunger, but of being cold. So the fact that she went in solitary confinement for her truth, this scarred her for life. But then she read a passage in the Bible talking about how these people were. She read Acts, and she read other parts of the New Testament, how they were, they were persecuted for doing what was right. And she lived from now on to be persecuted no matter what. I would die as a Christian to do what was right. And the mother was against that because she knew that she would indeed die. And one of these days, she will die because someone would mistreat her. Because there's a group of people that hate her so much. Even if half the group are in prison, doesn't mean that there's going to be a group that will, find her and kill her because she's pretty much preaching the truth. And that's the group of the millions right now. That's even millions now. But in her sense, the thousands that lied to her, some of them have repented. The main one felt bad. And basically, the one daughter said, I'm sorry, but, I'm going to die for this. I'm not always going to conform to the world's way. She even told her mom, don't worry, Mom. Just teach me what to do. Teach me how to love. And basically, her mom said, this will do. You do not have to go further. And then the girl was torn because she knew she had to listen to her mother because she was young and she was like 9 years old. So will she rebel as a teenager? No. But even then, she was torn. She didn't know what to do because of her mother and her father telling her that she shouldn't be doing this. Even though that her mother and father told her plainly not to preach in a certain manner to schools and all that. If it was right for God, yeah, she said, well, maybe we should pray to God that I should find a way to help these people because, for one thing, I should be listening to you guys, but for another thing, people are not getting the word because of you. So which is it? And that conversation might change the parents, or it might not. So, instead, she cannot make a YouTube video, so she's still torn. And in a sense, does she have social platforms to say anything on? I guess not. So indeed, she's going to wait, and she will not rebel against anyone. And she will become a true child of God, and she will not rise up, but she will help the world as much as possible. and have a future, even though it was very bleak. But she will have a future, even though her past was a little bit torn. Even though she has a lot of people that do not wish her to succeed because they think she is proud, and in some ways she was being rebellious against her parents because she was teaching in schools how to believe in God. But then she has grown up, like I'm growing up. So you see, we have to learn. Really have to learn that we have to learn that God is still, He's still going to fix our spirit and our minds, but not the flesh. The flesh will destroy itself. Eventually, it will destroy itself. But the mind will either be in heaven or hell. And then the spirit, well, same thing. You either have the spirit of the flesh, or you either have the spirit of Jesus. And both ways. There's only two ways that you're going to go. The absolute straight path. The absolute straight path, or the path that goes to the side. Because it is the end of the path. This I don't know how to describe it, but imagine the entrance being this big. You can squeeze through it. And everything else beyond the size of the world. And he did say, even indeed, few will enter. Just look at the world. If there are Catholics all over, that's mid-century, and they were persecuting all the Christians, there will be Catholics persecuting all the Christians. And if there are false Christians in America, indeed there will be false Christians in America. If there are basically people, false teachers, and people going against your religion, indeed there will be people going against all kinds of Christianity. That's true. And all kinds, only one kind in all people. So one person has to be the same as the other person, in a sense, to make it to heaven. To have the same history, but have the same history of being saved, and same history of knowing God. Because if you don't have the same history as the other person, you're not reading the book of life. And I would hate to see a person suffer through a hell that is filled with rotten flame, that is filled with horror. It's indescribable. It really is. And you'll be fed by maggots and to the worm that is your blanket. So go to the preacher that is very calm, influential in certain ways, very calm, like a very smooth preaching, not pointed, not harsh. Don't go to anyone that is very harsh, because they're false teachers. And the ones that are true, almost all of them are very calm. And the more calm they are, the more true they are. So you got to understand that the truth comes in being calm. Believe in it. Believe in the calm flow of the stream. Stream that never ends. Stream that loves. Stream that fulfills with the waters of hope. With the stream that has the eyes to see the truth and what's going on in the world, and to avoid the truth, the stream to jump away from the truth, the stream to close its doors on false people and wolves, to the streams to make the wolves basically the stream to depart from its lapping, so the wolf never gets any water, and so the wolves die because of the streams. Streams that if there's a whole huge fire, the stream would immediately drench the huge forest fire, and the trees would all live again. The stream that is very peaceful, and a stream that is very much to the truth. I mean, it may sound very strange, but the stream that is very much the heavy amount of truth is a stream that even Jesus said, "Let the rocks rejoice, let the trees clap their hands to God." I mean, that may sound New Age, but in some sense, he knew what the New Age was going to do. So, not part of it, but the heck I'm a part. The heck I'm a part of. The living water. The water is indeed living. So, if you're wondering what that is, just know that Jesus is the living water, and he brings forth streams into people's cups. And the streams shall enter the people's cups. They'll make the person thirsty no more, and they shall be part of the stream. The streams shall be the most calm thing that you can ever imagine. Calmer than the gentle breeze, yet more crucial, more strong than anything else that you can ever imagine, like fire and like wind, like the force of rock, because you can't kill the stream. Like nuclear blasts, it'll still find its way around, and like the instruments that we have, that stream will still live. And that should be done now. Okay, bye. And this is gonna last a long time. Okay, just in a minute, 39 minutes, it shall be done.